Are we all set? There we go. I think the wait ends here. This is Poonam Jha on behalf of Flutter India Conference 2020. I welcome you all in this conference. We are super excited to see you all learning and hearing more and more about Flutter, what we each individual who are involved in this are planning, and we have tried, we have attempted really well to put all the stuff that we can offer you. But before that, since we are during the lockdown, we are half of us are in quarantine now. I have a message for all of you on behalf of the entire team. Don't distance yourself mentally. Stay home and stay creative. Flutter is providing a lot of stuff to design things really well. So yeah, stay creative and stay home, stay healthy. There we go. So a very basic and a quick introduction that what Flutter India conference is all about. So the conference basically, we are some 9 communities based in India who are dedicatedly working for Flutter, who are dedicatedly working to put gather all the individuals who are working with Flutter, who are contributing in Flutter technologies and open source platforms and everywhere in each possible platform that we can contribute in, we can work on, and we can help Flutter to grow really well. I know one thing that you all know what Flutter does. Flutter basically provides a cross platform. You helping a lot of clients rather than coding individually for Android and iOS. You can code in Flutter and you can run it in multiple platforms nowadays, not limited to Android and iOS again. So this is Flutter, and Flutter India conference will be putting them all together. Will be helping you guys. Along with that, will be serving a great platter of Flutter things to all of you. Having some really amazing experts, some really amazing speakers who have also prepared equally great to make this time worth for you all. So a quick introduction about what communities are involved in this. We have some 9 communities in that. I'll just quickly name few, all of them. One is Ahmedabad, then Bangalore, Gwalior, Nagpur, Mumbai, Pune, Vadodara, Surat, and Hyderabad. So these 9 communities are the one who are organizing, who are trying to connect every possible dots that we can. There would be a lot of surprises. There would be a lot of things that we can offer you probably, or we can serve you as good as we can. We'll try to make this platter as yummy as we can. So zooming more about the speakers that we have lined up next for you during this 3 days event, it would be no less than a tech fest that you guys are attending. You guys would have attended in your college times. It would be no less than that, and we will try to make it as good and as celebrative as we can make it for you. So let me just confirm if the lined up people are also equally ready to hit this up. Along with the communities and on behalf of the entire team, if you have any questions that you want to ask or you want to know about us or the event that is happening or the people who would be speaking about it, you can drop a message to Flutter India community in the Twitter box, and we will keep an eye on that. We will take we'll take the questions up, and if there is any that we find like we can merge them up, we'll try to club them up, and then if we cannot cover that during the event, we'll try to cover them afterwards or maybe offline. So that would be one way. We'll try to take your questions up, and we'll try to answer whatever we can. So we'll try to make this up as good as we can. Great. So yeah, I think I can hand over it to Yash and Vivek and Aditya, who are in the lined up and who are there to. They will be telling you what speakers we have, what the speakers would be serving you in the plate in these 3 days. So guys, let me tell you your duties now. You will have to tell them what speakers we have, all the Googlers and all the amazing minds that we have from the town and from the after, like even about Nilay and everyone, because people are super excited to hear them out. So you'll have to tell them about the speakers, the sessions that we have lined up, and what all we would be delivering them during these 3 days. Before I resume, before I come back, or before I see you guys again, to all the people who are listening us here, you can put your questions in the live comments. We will read them up. If you have any feedbacks for us, if you think that can be, you can let us know in the comments. You can do that, or you can drop us a message in the Twitter box. We will keep an eye on that. Along with that, yeah, if you can follow us in the Slack, you can follow us on the social media. That would help us to do better, because after all, this entire 3 day event is for all of you, not for us or the organizer. It is for all of you. So yeah, again, resuming, handovering it to Yash and Aditya. On behalf of the entire Flutter India team, namaste, thank you, and a very warm welcome on behalf of the entire team. I wish you guys will have an amazing evening. Over to you, Yash and Aditya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Poonam, for the short introduction. So, guys, welcome. I'm Yash Shadulkar.
Yeah, guys, hello, welcome again, and I'm Aditya Sudar.
So, we would like to tell you about our speakers.
Yeah, so yes, we just have like nine cities coming together. So we have like all the Flutter enthusiastic, from Flutter coder to Flutter core team members, from Flutter experts to Flutter YouTuber.
Yeah, man, that's actually amazing to have different types of speakers on a Flutter conference.
So yeah, so basically, can you tell me like how this event will go live on what is the exact schedule which is going to happen in next 2 days?
Okay, so the thing is that, as you know, as we have the 9 communities conducting the conference, we also have the 9 speakers who are actually going to talk on a different topics. So, as you said, we actually have the speakers from Flutter coders to actually Flutter core teams, from Flutter artists, Flutter experts, as well as the Flutter enthusiasts, the Flutter YouTubers too. We have on our sessions. So, our session general schedule is actually from May 1st to May 3rd. We'll be scheduling from 8:30 to 11:30 for the next consecutive 3 days. As we also have different speakers, as I said, but they are going to show on different talks. We have the different talks ready to enlighten our people, to share their knowledge and their experience with our speakers.
So that's great. Can you tell me like what is the schedule for today? Like how we are going to do all the sessions? Can you tell me like the first speaker, second or third?
Okay, so today we have actually 3 speakers. One of our first speakers is, actually I'd like to keep it as a surprise for you as a first speaker. Our second speaker is actually Mr. Ghazin Alankas, and the third speaker, Ghazin Alankas is actually a GDE, and the third speaker is Hansen Tai. He's actually a YouTuber. So should I start with the first speaker?
Yeah, I think we should start. So
okay.
Let's just see is Neela is ready or not.
Hello everyone.
Okay, so before starting, give an introduction about Miss Nilay. So our Miss Nilay is actually a community person. She was also an organizer of GDG Istanbul as well as Women Tech Makers.
Yeah.
She has been actually contributing communities since many long back, and right now she's actually a program manager at Flutter and her Dart Kurti. So all the communities are actually under her, and we actually contribute towards the contributions. So I would like to welcome Miss Nilay Yana to give a talk on our conference. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Oh my gosh. All right. Are you going? Oh, yeah, I am here just by myself. Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness. Have a good evening. If you are in India, I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Nilay, and I work at the Flutter Developer Relations team at Google. I am here in the United States in California today. And this is Dash. As you know, Dash is my coworker. Dash is the mascot of Flutter, so we are here together today. So I'm so excited. I'm really, really excited to be here in the FlutterCon India today. It's so funny. I always wanted to be in India but it never happened. And I have a lot of friends from India. They know me. I am a huge fan of Indian women's clothing, saris, but this was the closest I could get. So this is a sari. Pooja, our Flutter GD, she brought it from India. I didn't know how to wear this. Yeah, now it is bigger. You can see that. I didn't know how to wear this, but hopefully next time I'll be in India in person. I'll be seeing you. Right now I don't see anyone, but I'll be in India in person with you. But right now I am here at FlutterCon India as online, and I am really, really happy to be here. So today I'm going to talk about just some Flutter stuff, and I know there are so great speakers coming after me today, tomorrow, and Sunday, and we have another Googler on Sunday. And first of all, I want to thank all the organizers, all the FlutterCon India organizers for putting together this event. You know, we are in like very strange times, right? We are very confused, and this is our new normal. But thanks to these online events, thank all of the organizers for bringing us. We are here, we are together, you can hear me, and hopefully I will be reading your comments. But let's see if I will be able to tell all the meetup organizers correctly. So let's try. So thank you, Flutter, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Nagpur, Gwalior, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Surat, organizers for putting together this great event. As you know, Flutter is a very exciting, very new technology from Google. It's the new SDK to allow you to build beautiful and natively compiled applications for mobile, web, desktop from just one single code base. And if you look at the mobile development a few years back, there were like two options, right? You could either build native applications or choose another cross-platform tools like PhoneGap or Adobe Air and so on. And if you were to build a native application, it is great. You can build high-quality applications because they are separately built for each device, specifically built for each device. It use all the system integrations and everything. Your application is high quality, but you have to maintain more than one project, right? It is more cost for you. Or if you were to choose a shorter way, if you choose a cross-platform tool, the application you had actually was not how you expected, because the app actually was not a native mobile app. It is just a web application put in a mobile shell. This is why it might not show the behaviors you were expected. And Flutter just comes here and it offers you the best of both worlds. You both build native applications, high quality, high performance applications, and you build it from one single code base, so you don't have to maintain more than one code base or more teams or so on. And it's all thanks to Flutter's layered structure. Flutter is actually an engine, as you can see in the light blue part. It's on Skia, and on top of that there is framework part. So everything you see here, animations, gendering, gestures, everything is widgets, and this is all thanks to Dart programming language because of the Dart's flexibility. And when we're talking about Flutter, we talk about these 4 pillars. Flutter is beautiful, fast, productive, and open. Flutter is beautiful because it is designed to allow you to control every pixel on the screen. So this is why it is so easy to build very beautiful user interfaces for your application. For example, the application you see on the screen, the menu, and you see there are really nice designs. It is very easy to do with this ready-to-use widgets with Flutter. And Flutter is fast because it compiles to native code on the devices. This is why it uses devices maximum performance, and this is why your app works fast. As you can see on the screen, there are text and images and animations, and they all come on top of each other and work very high performance and smoothly. And Flutter allows you to be more productive because of the developer-friendly tools and features. For example, the most popular one, hot reload, right? So when you're building your app, when you make a change on the screen, on the design, you see the changes just in a few seconds thanks to hot reload. And again, this is thanks to Dart just-in-time compilation. And there are so many other developer-friendly tools that gives you a big joy while you're building the Flutter application. And there are some teams at Google, they were building their application with Flutter again. On what they told us, they were 3 times more productive, and this is huge. This is a huge difference. And the Flutter's beauty comes from its openness. Flutter is an open source project, and all the integrations you want to do with the Flutter, you use packages, and there are over 1,000 packages right now on pub.dev, and those packages are built by Googlers, but as well as other people like you, developers and companies. And this is the beauty of Flutter. And for example, if you need anything, if anyone need anything, and if it is missing, you will be able to write a package and put this directory, or other people can use package, or they can also contribute to your package. So this is a very collaborative environment, and it has a lot of 90,000 stars on GitHub. And again, you are able to contribute Flutter on GitHub too. And there are thousands of applications right now on Play Store and App Store built with Flutter. And also, right now, the market is really competitive, right? You want to be able to build very nice applications. You want the users to use application. And so this is, and if you want it to be exciting, this is why you put animations. You want to put animations into your app. And with Flutter, putting animations into your app is just a few lines of code, because it is just a library. And thanks to some tools like Rive app, you can build animations for your app, and you can easily put that animation into your app. And if you want to see some examples, there are some animation apps built by Rive. Mother of Dashes is one of them. People call me Mother of Dashes because I send people a lot of Dash. And you know, the Shams, my coworker, she created Dash too. But there is a Mother of Dashes app. You can see beautiful Dash animations on the store. And also, you want to build web applications, right? You want to reach out your users on web too. And you can also build web applications with Flutter. There are very exciting updates about web coming. I'm going to also talk about them too. And it's all thanks to Dart programming language. We easily build applications for more than one platform. And to build a web application, it's not easy, right? You have to meet some kind of standards. Your web app has to be fast, and it has to be junk free. It should work 60 frames per second minimum, and it has to show a consistent behavior across all the apps, right? Mobile app, web app, it should show consistent behaviors. Or there are a lot of web browsers, and they are having new features every day, and your web app should work all of them nicely. And thanks to Dart again, you can create a web application which works on all kind of browsers and new browsers with Flutter. And if you want to see a web application example, you can check out this New York Times web game. They built this game with Flutter Web, and you see the animation. It works very nice. You can just go out to this link and check out. And Flutter right now is used by so many of you. There are a lot of developers, startups using Flutter. Also, there are so many big companies that are using Flutter right now. Like, for example, Alibaba, Hamilton, Capital One, which is a bank in the US, Groupon, they're all using applications, building applications with Flutter. But the more exciting part is there are lots of Google projects are using Flutter right now. You know some of them, right? Stadia, the new game platform from Google. They built their mobile application with Flutter. I think we're going to go to questions later, right? Okay. And then there are, for example, Google makes money from Google Ads, right? And the Google Ads application, the ones the customers use outside and the internal teams use inside, they are all built with Flutter. And also there are some, for example, Google Home hubs, the screen Google Home devices, their UI is Flutter. And there are more exciting things happening with Flutter at Google. For example, you know, the Fuchsia, the new operating system from Google, there's a very small portion is open source. Their UI is, again, Flutter. So using Flutter will also be preparing you for this kind of future Google technologies as well. So you seeing Flutter being used at Google is also very, very exciting for us. And if you want to see what kind of companies use Flutter, we have on the Flutter Dev website, you can see under showcase, there are really good examples. Go and check out. And today, if you want to start using Flutter, there are 4 ways. For example, if you have an idea or if you have a business and you want to build your app, a mobile application and web and desktop, so on, you can start using Flutter. Or you don't have to do a mobile app, you just need a prototype. You just go and create your prototype with Flutter. And for example, let's say that you have an Android app, but you don't have an iOS app, and you can start building applications with Flutter, so you have your app for multiple platforms. And if you have an Android app, you can start adding pages with Flutter into your existing Android app. I know there's a team at Flutter team working specifically for that, and they're working really hard. You will see a lot of updates about this in the future. And if you want to start learning Flutter, I suggest you to go and check out the official documentation, because it's very simple, very clear, and really good documentation. So you don't have to have a programming background, or you don't have to have no Flutter before. You just go and start doing those steps there. Of course, if you're familiar with an object-oriented programming language, this is great. But if even you can apply all the steps, and you will be able to run your first sample Flutter application, and you will start building on top of that. And of course, the developer relations team, my team, produce also a lot of content too. There's a Flutter YouTube channel. For example, Boring Show is one of the shows on the YouTube channel. This is a really cool show. So as you see, these are two of my team members. They sit down on camera and they build a Flutter application. And the good thing about this is that, you know, like the demos are usually perfect, right? Everything works fine. There is no bug. There is nothing going wrong. But in real life, it doesn't happen, right? You hit a lot of walls, or there are some bugs, and you keep debugging. You search on Google, go to Stack Overflow. It doesn't work that perfect as we see in the videos. But this Boring Show, it exactly shows how we develop things. They build an app, they debug things, it crashes, they go and search at Google, and then it doesn't work. So this is very natural. So this is actually a really good show to see the real life of Flutter. Also it will help you to get over your imposter syndrome. And if you don't like longer videos, we have shorter videos, like Widget of the Week series is one of them. Every week we announce a widget, and it shows you how you can use that. So there are so many more videos in the Flutter YouTube channel if you want to look at that. And also, of course, community. So this is the beauty of Flutter. There's a very, very strong community of Flutter. So we have a lot of people on GitHub, on Stack Overflow, or Flutter emailing list, or there's a Flutter study group on Slack. Again, it's run by the communities. Those people are posting questions. Other people are answering. They're helping each other. And we have people writing packages and then contributing the packages. And we have GitHub contributors. Also, we have Flutter GDEs. They're amazing. We have 37 GDEs right now. They're building resources, articles, videos. They go to events, they speak about Flutter, they help you on the internet. And also Flutter meetup groups like this one, right? The 7 Flutter meetup groups came together, and they are running this conference today to bring a lot of great speakers for you. So Flutter's community is really, really strong, and this is the beauty of Flutter. So right now, once you start Flutter, if you have a question, you can easily find an answer to your question in any of the community platforms. And of course, we also have a community called Flutterista. This is a group Emily started in the, I think, last year. So this is a group for women and non-binary community members. So if you identify yourself as a woman or non-binary, and if you're interested in Flutter, if you want to learn Flutter, or if you're already building Flutter, you can join this group and you can meet other awesome, amazing Flutteristas. And we talk every day. We talk a lot of things, and it is a really great support group. So if you want to join this group, you can just message these 2 people on Twitter, Danielle and Stephanie. They will be adding you to the group, and I'll be really happy to see you there. And there are really cool, exciting news from Flutter too. I also want to talk about them. And we post all these updates every Wednesday on Twitter with the Flutter Good News Wednesday hashtag. So on Wednesdays, please follow Flutter Twitter account for those great news, because there are much more exciting news coming. So the Codeband support, right? We just announced the Codeband support for Flutter, and we hope this new playground will empower you to build animation and showcase for your creativity. So if you are doing designs with CodePen, please share them on Twitter using FlutterPen hashtag, so we are aware of that. As you can see, this example, it is a very nice Flutter example, and it works on CodePen right now. And the web updates, right? We just announced the PWA support for Flutter, and right now your Flutter template for web apps support the core features for your progressive web apps. And also the experimental support for the expression evolution for Flutter, you can also try it out on VS Code. And for other EDAs, IDEs, for IntelliJ, for example, it will be coming out. And also for rendering, you can go and check these updates more detail in the Flutter Good News Wednesday updates. And we just announced free Flutter courses. This is from App Brewery. If you want to start with Flutter, this is also a great course I would recommend. This was not originally free, but our awesome marketing team make this free for you. So you can just go and enroll the course. And if you enroll in the first 3 months, you will have access for free lifetime. So there are so many exciting things coming about Flutter, and the more exciting things are these events, right? We are able to meet you, you are able to watch us here. So my talk is coming to end here, and again, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Please everyone, take care of yourselves, and hopefully next time I will be meeting you in person in India. All right, I'm done. Okay, this is the fun thing about live stream now. I'm waiting for someone to join me here. And the team in the backstage are speaking right now. I can see that. Hey, let's add us. So there's a so you can just see me right now here, but there's a big team behind this. So again, once again, thanks to all organizers for all this effort. All right, let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, if you want, one of you can come to the live stream so people just don't see me, or let me take Dash with me. All right, yeah, hi.
Hello, Nilay. So thank you for the keynote speech. So right now, as you saw, there are some questions from the audience.
Of
So
course.
would you like to answer that questions?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So the first question from the audience was, is there a course for the beginners who have just started Flutter?
Yes, the course I just shared. Let me go back if I can. Can they still see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. So if you just look at this slide, there's a link. I know it is very small, but this is a beginner course for Flutter developers. You can just go here. If you don't see it here, please go to Flutter Twitter. This is announced on the Flutter Twitter 2 weeks ago. You can just go and click on that.
Okay. So the second question from the audience was, will there be actually a stable AR mode in the Flutter, the AR support?
Okay, so this is also, again, I know there are some people in the team working on that. But I don't know if there's a plan or when would be stable, when would be announced. I don't have information about that. But also I encourage everyone in the community, if they need something and if they're interested, right now, as you know, you can write packages for Flutter and you can contribute Flutter. I encourage you to do those kind of things so you can help yourself, you can help other people. But from team side, I don't know if there's a timeline for that.
Okay, thank you very much. So there's a third question. Aditya, why did you ask that question?
So, like, I don't have a question. Can you just give us?
Okay, so there was a question actually for
Okay.
Android OS and Fuchsia OS. So just the way there was Android OS. So in the Fuchsia OS, will Flutter replace everything and bring the Fuchsia OS in the market?
Sorry, you were froze. I couldn't get the questions. I'm sorry. Can you say again?
Okay, so just the way there is a trend of Android OS systems. So will the Fuchsia OS system, as Flutter supports it a lot, because it can run on multiple platforms?
So is your question if there will be a Flutter support for Fuchsia?
Yes.
So right now that, you know, you can use a very small portion of Fuchsia as an open source. I think more Fuchsia thing, you will also see more Flutter support there. So everything I can say about Fuchsia right now, it's on the Fuchsia website. So please go and check the website.
I'm sorry, but I don't think so. I could hear you.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
Yeah, there was a glitch. I'm really sorry.
Oh, sorry about I think it was about connection. So everything I can say about Fuchsia is on the Fuchsia website right now as a Googler. So, you know, there's a very small portion is open source for Fuchsia, and you can see more details on the Fuchsia website, fuchsia.dev.
Okay,
So
thank
you
you.
guys are keeping secrets.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
You can understand.
Yeah, so I think we should move on to next speaker.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, again, thank you so much, Nile, for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So I would like to thank you, Nilay, for coming to us and give a nice talk, nice keynote speech. So, thank you. So our next speaker is actually Mr. Ghazien Alankas. He is a GDE. He's also a blogger. He talks about tech. He shares text about the technological updates on Twitter. So I would like to welcome Mr. Ghazien Alankas for our next speech. He's going to give a talk on the grip of Flutter futures and asyncs. I would like to welcome.
Oh, hey, I'm on, I guess. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are audible. So,
Okay.
Mr. Ghazien.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Nilay, for the great talk also. It's great to see all those new things coming up. Yeah, really nice to see Nilay. She's also from Turkey, just like me. I just want to drop that.
I think.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have the dash right behind me and the Flutter t-shirt, so I guess I'm all set.
Everybody's wearing actually Flutter t-shirts.
Yeah, same.
So should I just share my slide screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for organizing this great event. So far, it's been so nice. Very professional with like actual speakers talking to each other. I'm excited now. I feel like I'm on TV. So very nice. And let me figure out how to share my screen quickly. Okay, I think we have it. All right, I got it on the side. Yes. Okay. Again, thank you so much, FlutterCon India, for having me as a speaker. I really appreciate it. Today, I will talk about futures and async. So this is a topic that comes up. Whatever you want to do with Flutter, after creating a bunch of screens, well, you see there's a future, there's async, what's going on. A lot of people get confused. And if you get the theory right, if you get the reasoning, everything right behind it, then it becomes very easy and you actually love it. But otherwise, I also teach this at school. So my students, some of them hate it if they don't understand the concept. So it's very important to understand the concept. And I want to do that in this talk. Yeah. So again, thank you, FlutterCon India organizers. And I realized your website is done with Flutter also, really slick, really nice with the effects and everything. Good job. And shout out to great GDEs from India. I met some of them in the last GDE summit, which I'm also a Dart GDE, as you can see here, Google Developer Expert for more than a year now. I'm really humbled by that also. And shout out to these friends. And let's talk about myself a little bit. After graduating in Turkey as a computer engineer, I went to the United States to get my PhD. There I was able to do a 3-month summer internship at Google, where I met Dart when it was in the baby phases. It wasn't even released. And then after that, I followed it. There was an internal hackathon before Dart was Dart, and I was the 4th place, so I really liked the idea and followed it. My friends told me it's becoming the language Dart, etc. So that's how I got to know it. And after graduating, I came back to to Turkey, Izmir, my hometown. And right now I'm working at a university here teaching mobile application development, game development. And I also have my company on the side, started last year. We do some robotics projects and mobile application development with Flutter, which is how I'm related to Flutter. And I also became 1.5 years ago a GDE. So that's how I'm related to this whole ecosystem. And I really love it. I'm excited to be here. I really love Indian people. Indian food is my favorite food in the world. I didn't have time to say that, I guess, but yes, we don't have it enough in Turkey. Good Indian food. So I wish I can come sometime after this COVID stuff is over. All right, so let's come to the topic. Nice that we have some even extra time, so I'll just try to explain it as well as I can. Since like I said, I also teach at a university, I'm kind of used to, we also teach in English, kind of used to giving lectures, but I'm excited to be here. I thought I wouldn't be that much excited, but yeah, thank you so much. All right, so today's topic is about futures and async. So nobody likes to wait. And let's say we went to a mall with a bunch of friends, and this guy here wants to go get some hamburgers. He's going to leave the desk for a little bit. So he goes there, they say, okay, 5 minutes. So what does he do? If he waits there, his friends in the desk, in the table, will be like, oh, I want to tell him something. Why isn't he not here, etc. So, and he's locked here, right? He decided to wait there for 5 minutes. He cannot go away. And, they are waiting for him. This is like the analogy to your application not responding to you when you're trying to scroll, but it's not responding. So I'm trying to make an analogy here, but with a real world example. And I also gave a similar talk at Flutter Sweden recently. So this is a reference to Swedish movie, Midsommar. Anyway, so he's there waiting for the hamburger. His friends are sad because they cannot talk to him. And instead, what we could have done is we didn't have to make them wait. Some restaurants actually have these physical plastic pagers. They give it to you instead of making you wait here. They say, okay, this is gonna, vibrate and light up when your hamburger is ready. You can go to your table, and then he goes to his table. His friends are happy, and after a while, this pager vibrates and lights up. So his hamburger is ready, and then he picks up his hamburger, leaves the pager there, and everybody is happy. This is the better scenario compared to the earlier one. And here, this pager is a perfect analogy to the future object that we will talk about today. And yeah, so this is a better situation, right? He didn't have to wait there. He didn't have to make his friends wait. This pager helped him, wait while talking to his friends, right? He was talking to his friends. The pager lit up, and then he was like, okay, let me finish my sentence. Okay, let's go pick the hamburger. So we have a very similar thing going on with the computer, and I tried to make it as concrete as possible while keeping it somehow simple, because it's really easy to become very abstract when you're talking about this stuff, and then everybody loses what you're talking about. I want to talk about it very, clearly about code right now. So we have a processor and some code, right? This is how we learn to program. We have a list of instructions, and the processor goes through each instruction line by line, executing them one by one. And this is how we learned how to program, right? And the thing here is why I have this animation is without finishing this line, I'm not able to go to the next line. Okay, this will be an important topic for today. Before finishing this line, I cannot go to the next line. I have to finish what I'm doing at that line to be able to go to the next line. Okay, so in reality, things are a little more complicated. Let's say in Flutter, we have a single thread, single processor like this. You can create isolates and everything, but in general, most of these UI applications have a single thread, and a single processor is going around in your code, and then there's an event loop. It's like a while true that keeps turning very fast, and Flutter is trying to do 60 times per second. And so in the event loop, from the event loop, your functions, you provide some code, of course. Your functions are called one way or the other, and then after your function returns, event loop takes over again, and then the processor walks around, and there is another function somewhere in the framework that refreshes the screen. So this is the function that draws the screen again. So when you try to scroll down a little bit, now you see the thing a little below, right? If this function wasn't executed, when you're trying to scroll, it wasn't going to react to your finger, okay? And you have seen such applications, sometimes things freeze because it's not reaching this function, okay? So we went to this function, the screen updated, everything is fine, but sometimes it can come to my function and I might want to decide to do something that takes a long time. This doesn't happen in Flutter, by the way, but I'm just giving an example in general in frameworks. This is just like the guy waiting for the hamburger. Let's say we decided to download a 1 GB file here, and then it will take some time. This processor is locked here. It cannot go to the function that refreshes the screen. So the screen is frozen. It cannot be redrawn, and then the operating system kicks in. So it's not reacting to your finger. Operating system says, okay, this looks like it's dead. Do you want me to kill it? If you say yes, if you wait, maybe it will come here after the download. But this used to happen. I'm sure everybody had these experiences. In the earlier Android versions, especially when you're doing Android SDK, it was very easy to do this mistake. They try to discourage it as much as possible. But in Flutter and Dart, you cannot even have this, even if you wanted to. So it's designed so nicely like that. I'll come to that. So remember our mall example? Instead of making the guy wait for the hamburger, what could we do? We could give him a pager, right? Instead of making it wait, we can give it a pager. In this case, it's a future object, right? An instance of a future object, future class. And an instance of a future class, it's a future object. And with this future object, our processor goes on to his path. Even if this download is not complete yet, he moves on. The download is still progressing in the background. And then it is able to reach the function that refreshes the screen. And as a result, yes, oh, nice, my application is scrolling nicely. It's not frozen. As the user, I have this experience, okay? So what happens when the download finishes? At some point, one thing that I didn't show here, that there is another function that continues unfinished tasks. This is an unfinished task, this download. When it's done, it's going to let me know, and then this will take care of it. So before, it was going into it, getting out, right, as a part of its event loop. But now, as we're going on, the future object is complete, the pager is buzzing, and then it's just like, pager is buzzing, you're in the middle of your sentence, you're talking to your friend, oh, let me finish my sentence, yeah, let me go to get the hamburger, right? I don't have to react immediately. So the future object is complete, the pager is buzzing, and then when we go to the function that continues unfinished tasks, then we look at the pager, we say, hey, what's the deal with you? And it says, they gave me this function when they were giving it me to you. They gave me this function. This function should be executed when I'm done. And the processor says, oh, great. And then let's go there. When we were starting this download, we also gave this function to this future object. And the processor goes there, executes that function now. It didn't execute it before, comes back, and then goes on with his life happily. Thank you, Manav Modi, shout out. And I'll try to look at the questions also from time to time. Okay, so this is how it works really. Like as in code, this is actually how it works. I can go to the different lines of code in Flutter. You can control click, you can debug every line of code in Flutter because it's all Dart. But this is a very simplified but real reenactment of the situation. Okay, remember sorry, I lost focus. Okay. Remember the downloading example? So we were keeping it hostage for a while. Like I said, it doesn't happen in Flutter, and other frameworks try to discourage this as much as possible also. The thing is, this is obvious, right? Everybody knows, okay, if you're downloading something, it's going to take time, so you should do it somehow asynchronously. You should give it a function that will continue, etc. But something that people don't think much about is this example, this reading a file example. If you're reading a file, it also takes some time. It actually takes more time than the CPU's time. So these are numbers that I'm making up, but this is close to truth. In some cases, it will be like this. So if the event loop takes t amount of time, reading a file sometimes can take 10 t amount of time. So if this happens, right, it will lose the ability to loop for 10 loops, and then I will see some stuttering in my application. And our phones, the files they grow, our SD cards get old, etc. As your phone gets older, sometimes you see this stutter more and more often, and this is most likely why it's happening, because the framework lets you read a file synchronously, not asynchronously, and you're keeping the processor hostage, and therefore you cannot refresh the screen and your application stutters. So whatever framework you're using in C#, Python, whatever, if you're reading a file in one line and in the next line you can use the result of that file, this is a synchronous operation, and this is blocking the main thread, whatever thread you call it. You're blocking that thread. You should be aware of it. And if it's like a user-facing application like this that needs quick reaction, this is a bad thing to do. But in Dart and Flutter, the nice thing is everything that takes time like this, reading a file, etc., there is no synchronous version of those. They're all asynchronous. So you are forced to do this asynchronously. You are not able to read a file like this in Flutter and Dart, as far as I know. Okay. Yes. So this pager we got, that was the key here, and I'll come to that a little more in the future. So we need something like that. If we don't want to wait, we need a pager like that. We need an IOU, a paper that says, he's owed 2 cheeseburgers. So when I go with that paper, I get it. Or this, buzzer that lights up when my food is ready. Or you can think of it like this is the future and the promise object, future in Dart and promise in JavaScript. The same thing works the same way. The new JavaScript also has async await. Yes, Gabriel, they run in the same thread. And in this example that I gave earlier, the main thread was going and continuing with the async thing. But other things can go in the threads behind, but all your code is running in the same thread. So the future object, this pager is a good example for it, but you can also think of it like this. You are given a box, and this box will continue your answer at some point, and it will open by itself when it's time, but you're not supposed to try to open it right now, okay? If you try to open it right now, it's not going to work. In Stack Overflow, we see questions a lot of times. People say, I called this, it gave me a future, how do I get it out of it? Well, you cannot get it out of it. You will have to work with the future. You'll learn how to use it, and then you'll write code that will run when it is ready, okay? So when you internalize this, everything is so much fun. Okay, so let's try to see what's the big deal, waiting versus non-waiting, what happens. Another real-world example. Let's say you're going to bake some beans and rice. You're going to cook some rice on the side, 2 meals you make. And if you say, I'll bake the beans, I'll finish it, and then I will start the rice, then you're actually losing a lot of time, and we don't do that in reality because you know that when you're baking the beans, let's say you chop the onions, you fry them, you wait for them to turn pink. During that time, you could have done something else. So you're losing a lot of time waiting for things. You're watching the onions fry, for example, there. Yes, it's single thread by default, but you can start isolates for other operations. Yeah, Dinesh, so this event loop that I said, so that's how it is able to do it. But we can talk about it later in the end, I guess also. I don't want, but good points. So if I do it like that, if I just watch everything happen and then I move to the other meal, then I'm going to lose a lot of time in these gray areas. Instead, I could have interleaved, right? I could have chopped the onions, switched to the rice, etc. That's what we do in reality, in real life. Even if I'm waiting for something, I just pull up my phone. So I always fill the waiting times with something else. And in general, I spend less time, and since I'm able to switch, these white areas are not busy times, right? So if, for example, my phone rings, in the synchronous example, I will be like, okay, I'm watching the beans bake. I cannot answer the phone. Which is ridiculous, but this is what happens if you synchronously program, if you program synchronously. In the asynchronous version, you can be like, yeah, hey, I'm cooking, what's up? It's going on. I've some, couple of minutes to talk to you. So you can react to things that come up. Synchronous code is more straightforward. This is what we are doing. This is how we learn to program, right? You go to the next line, you go to the next line. This is how we learned how to program. It's more straightforward, but it's not good because of the, you're blocking the thread if something takes a long time. In the async version, it's a little more involved to create, involved to code, but it's good because you waste less time, you stay responsive. An application like this is actually saying, I'm watching the beans bake at the moment, sorry. And the UI thread, it's blocked there and it's waiting for something. It didn't reach the event loop yet, so this will not have happened. It was done in an asynchronous way. So some people are talking about threads. Let me remind one more time. So we have an event loop like this. Yes, the download started. The system is taking care of, making the download go further, right? That's not the Flutter framework anymore there. Maybe there is another thread that's taking care of it, but my code, as you can see, this path that this processor took, this is the same processor. So this is the same thread, okay? My function executed in the same thread, and then the event loop, the thread continued with here, and then when the thread came to here, that continues unfinished tasks, right? Then it looked at, oh, there was a half task somewhere, and let me continue there. Okay? So this processor, there's only one processor here in these animations, and that's only one thread. All your code, all this code is executing in the same thread. To make this happen, of course, to make this download happen in the background, of course, there can be in the system, there can be other threads, etc. We don't care about that, okay? As far as we care about, all of our functions, even this function that executes when our download is finished, that executes in the same thread. How? The thread goes from the event loop to this function, which makes it go to this function and come back, okay? Is it a little more clear now how things can happen with the single thread but interleaved? Just like you starting the onions and moving to the rice and switching back to onions, moving to the rice, okay? If it's a threaded situation, a function can execute without it returning, another function can execute at the same time. They can be pulling at the same data, which I'll talk about now. But I hope it clarified it a little bit, and in the end, we can talk more about it. Which brings us to threads, right? When you say something like this, yes, the system is executing the download task. We're not worried about that. We're worried about starting the download task, and we're worried about what to do when the download task is over with the resulting data. So there is a thread there. There is something there in the background. We don't care about. We didn't implement that. As far as the programmer we are concerned, we just say start it, and when it's done, do this. Just like me switching rice onion. Okay. So if you code it skillfully, if you have threads, multiple threads, great. If you have multiple threads, if you code it skillfully, it's good. But most of the time, multi-threads creates all kinds of bugs, and I hate writing multi-threaded code. You hold on to some data, another function is also executing at the same time, it pulls it away, changes it, etc. So it's usually a mess. And so if you have threads, but synchronous, right? Every thread runs synchronously in itself. They can be also waiting. When one thread is waiting, another can be executing nicely, but both of them can be waiting. Of course, I should have another one here that never blocks, which is the main UI thread, which you shouldn't be blocking. But the thing is, when multiple threads are executing at the same time, they can be pulling at the same data sometimes, race conditions and everything. So you run the code, it runs fine. But when you ship it to the customer, they sometimes see a bug which you can never replicate, which is you pull your hair. Yes, exactly. Too many cooks to mess it up. So it's good, but it's difficult and has its problems. In the async situation, we have only one thread. So we started our, blue task here. We're doing something. And then here I started a download operation, for example. My function actually returns now. So another function can execute with this. This processor can go to that another function. But in the background, yes, somehow some thread, something is taking care of this download. And to that, I gave a function, which is here. Hey, please, when you're done, call that function, I said. Okay. So after this green is done also, I'm available here. And then this task is over. So it calls my little function that I gave it, that executes, etc. When this green is over, it continues here, etc., etc. So this is how it works. And let's zoom into there. Well, sorry, I'll zoom in a little later. So in thread.sync or in sync in general, to continue after this delay, after this download, for example, we just go to the next line, right? This is the download line, and this is the use that download line, right? This is why we are doing it. This is bad, but we are doing it because it's easy in other languages. In the async world, this is your code here, and this dark blue code is another piece of function, not the same function. It's like a closure or a separate function. It's up to you, but not the same function. This function actually returns, and then this function is executed by the system, like the example that I tried to show earlier. And that way, that's how you continue with your task. So it's a little more complicated. You have two functions. This is why it may be a little more, not straightforward to do compared to sync, but we will talk about how it's very straightforward in Dart and Flutter. So let's zoom in here now. This is where the future object fits in. The little pager that we talked about lights up, buzzes. This future object is a perfect analogy for that. So we start our function, and here I decide to download something. I tell the system, hey, give me, download me this URL, and it says, okay, here's a future. I cannot give it to you right now. You're gonna have to wait. Here's the future. It's going to complete. It's going to buzz when it's done, and you can return now. So what do? I attach a function to it, which will be executing here, and then the system takes care of it, and then other things happen. And when this download is finished, through that future object, the other side reaches my function and calls my function, to continue my task. There is a way to gain advantage of the multiple core CPU. It's isolates. Isolates, you can look it up. There's compute function to do things in the background in parallel. But this is not that topic at the moment. So this is how it happens with the future object. And it's handled by the event loop. So this YouTube link is a really nice, the official YouTube people created a series of videos about this. I highly suggest that you watch it. And I try to give some little more understanding in this talk to it, but this is from there. And the thing here is these are handled just like any other event. So, and as you can see, this is empty area for the CPU. So if a touch comes in here at this time, it is handled right immediately. Even if I have downloads going on, the touch is handled immediately, thanks to the processor not being busy. And these future completions, touches, etc., those are all handled from the event loop, the earlier code example that I gave with the gray lines, and they're all executing from the event loop. If it was a sync situation, you would touch here, and it would say, oh, sorry, we cannot scroll, we are downloading. And then after you're done with that download and using it, after you return, then you can scroll, it would say, which is why apps froze. But in the async world, it is responsive. Okay, I really like it. Really nice questions, guys and girls. So thank you. So this future object is like a middleman, a broker for producer and consumer. Otherwise, I would have to give it a callback function, and it would have to know about me. Yes, I will share the slides. Oh yeah, this thing. Okay, I will. Yes, probably my face is blocking it. So this future object is a middleman between the producer and consumer. Consumer is me coding, right? Trying to code an app. Producer is the system doing the actual download. Okay, so as the consumer, I say, hey, I want to download this, file from the internet, and it says, okay, here's a future object for you. I cannot give you the result at the moment, but I'll give it through that once I'm done. And it says, we say, okay, great, I know what I'll do when you're done. I attach a function to it. That function will execute sometime in the future. And then I do other things, and the producer works on creating the result. And when it's done, it says, here's the result through the future object. which calls the function that I had attached to it. And I say, great, the code that I attached to it executed, I'll use the result here. So this is how future object is a broker between these two sides. And let's look at some actual code finally. So single value synchronous. This is like your int, okay? Int is a single value. It's just one value, and it's a synchronous. Right now I have it. Synchronous is a fancy word for just value I have, right? So int getVal is a very simple function that returns 1. And in my main function, I can call it, put the result to another int variable, and then print it, right? This is very, very simple. I couldn't make it simpler, sorry. The async version of it is a future int, a future object that knows that it handles int. It's a generic type. So in this case, my getVal function would return a future object, and I need to create a future object somehow, get it from somewhere else, create it myself, but I return a future object. And here, instead of just using it in the sync version, in the async version, I'm getting a future object. So what do? I'll come to the async await later, but I just want to say this. This future object has a then method. To that then method, I give a function. So this is the blue function on the side, dark blue function on the side that I was talking about. That through the pager, the processor will go to it. Right? This is that function. It's not executing at the moment. This main function returns, and then in the future, when this future is complete, this little function executes, this closure executes. Okay, I think everybody can understand this. Stream. There's also a stream class. This is very similar, but it handles multiple data. So I attach, for example, there is a URL that keeps giving me the current exchange rate. Dollars is this in Turkish liras. So I attach to it. It gives me one value. It gives me another value whenever it wants. Okay, the control is in the stream. So exactly the same thing, multiple times happening. Okay, here now it gets a little more interesting. So for single values, we have the async version future. For multiple values, so this is like your list, which iterable is a parent class of, in general, iterables. To an iterable, you can attach a for loop, right? You can say for int I in iterable. You can print I. You can for loop over these elements synchronously. And the async version of it is the stream. Like I said, it gives me multiple values whenever it wants. So I get the stream. I attach .listen. It has a listen method, just like the then method in future. Stream has a listen method. I attach a function to it. Whenever a new value comes in, this is executed. Okay, so this table is very instructive. When I first saw it, it took some time for it to sink in, but this table helps. So far, what I talked about is nothing special about Dart. You can do this in any language, right? So far, I just talked about functions and passing functions around. And there's a future object that calls it. And it is a little more involved, right? If you look at this code, this synchronous version is much simpler than this. You have another function, even if it's not too bad. When you have like branching, loops, sometimes you want to get it, sometimes you don't. It becomes a nightmare here. Error handling becomes a nightmare here. Well, maybe not nightmare, but more difficult than the synchronous version. So that's why, yes, it's great, but writing sync code is easier. So a lot of frameworks, you can still write sync code if you're not forced to write async code in a lot of frameworks. But in Dart and Flutter, it's different. Dart language and standard library have async support. So async is supported everywhere. It's not like something fancy that we did. Everything is built on async and futures all the way through the standard library, which makes writing async code pleasant. So now I'll talk about what those features are. Async await is the most important one, but there are the generators also I want to talk about briefly, talking about async star without, async without async star wouldn't be nice. Yes, like observable, exactly, somebody said. So remember this example future situation. So I have single value, very simple, I'm getting that value, right? The async version of it is the future object. I'm getting the future object. I'm saying that then attaching a function that executes when it's done. So this one in the middle looks like the one on the left, but it actually executes exactly like the one on the right. Okay, so this is the best of both worlds. When you write such code, I'll dive into it soon. It actually does this behind the curtains. You don't see it. The Dart compiler, whatever the system, actually converts it to this, and this executes. But as far as you're concerned, it's just a bunch of lines of code. When this is over, it goes to here rather than calling a separate function. Okay, so let's look at this code. Our getVal function is still returning 1, as you can see. Sorry about the color difference. It's still returning 1, but the return type is a future. How come, right? I'm returning an int, but it returns a future int because it is marked as async. This async modifier after the function name implicitly creates a future and returns that future for you. And you don't worry about it. You just return the value that that future passes on. Okay, so this is very nice. You just return your value. It takes care of the future, dealing with the future. And the way you use it is you also need to be an async function to do this await, but you just get that future, you put an await in front of it. If you're also in an async function, you get to use this await. And when you use this await, you don't have a future anymore, you have the actual value. So it's like you're getting the value right now. You're extracting the value from the future, but this is impossible, of course. Instead, this is happening in the background. So this part, this getVal executes, and the rest executes as a separate function, actually, behind the curtains. But you don't care about it as the programmer. All you care about is I have one line of code, getVal, await on that future, get the int, and in the next line I use that, right? I said, this is the synchronous approach, but this await makes it asynchronous. Okay, so you write code synchronous, like synchronous code, you write code the easy way, and it actually executes asynchronously like this. But you don't have to worry about these little callback functions. This is very powerful, and once you get used to it, it makes it so much easier. You can do try catch, all kinds of things, just very similar to synchronous code. Okay. So this is a very nice language feature. The new JavaScript also has it. If you're doing like React Native, you can also do async await promises there, which is really nice, which is very similar to Flutter's. Okay, so remember how we continued to our next line here, how we continued after this delay. In the synchronous version, we went to the next line. In the asynchronous version, we attached a function. But in this new thing that we just saw in the red box earlier, with the async await, we still go to the next line to continue, which is just like this synchronous version, right? The best of both worlds. You are async, just like this, but you look like sync and you use it like sync, okay? So this is the sweet spot, best of both worlds. Yeah. And there's also a stream we talked about. With streams, it's also very interesting. I said that you can do a for loop with an iterable, with a list, go through the elements of the list normally. With a stream, you have to attach a .listen normally. But in the async world, if your function is marked as async, you get to use await for. And what await for is, every time a new element comes from the stream, your for loop turns one more time. And it just waits. And the next time an element comes from the stream, it turns one more time, okay? This is very powerful. And it's so much fun. So this listen function is fine, but when you're like programming a socket or something and you have to code a complicated piece of logic, staying in the same function is very powerful. You can have your local variables, you can modify them, etc. You can branch or whatever you want. You can listen to 2 elements, whatever different things you can do. And this await for is very powerful for listening to streams rather than .listen. So I said I'll talk very briefly about generators. The reason that I'm talking about it is just like the async functions, if you have async star functions, right? Async function, what did it do? Let me remind you. Async function let you return a single value, and implicitly it gave a future to the other side, to the caller. And through that future, you were able to return this one. In the async star, with async star here, your function now returns a stream type, and implicitly it creates it for you. All you have to do, you can have async stuff here, just like regular async functions. All you have to do to send a data over through that stream is to say yield val. You don't say return because it would return from this function, but you say yield val. It sends over to whoever called you that got the stream. It sends over one more value to them, right? And here I give the example. Here is the stream returning, implicitly stream returning generator function. And here is the await for that's attached to it, right? I was able to create a stream very simply by just saying async star and yield, yield, yield. Okay. Okay. So probably please remind me about the questions at the end. So this one on the top is the sync star version. This is just like you creating the list and then send it over. But maybe these are taking too much time on the memory. You don't want to store them together and then give it to the for loop. You give them one by one to the for loop. But this is synchronous, just like looping over the list. And this all happens one after the other very quickly at the same time. But this happens, in different times. Whenever this producer decides to send a value over, this await for loop loops one more time, whenever there is a new element. Thank you so much, Geeky Coders. I appreciate it. Maybe I should start a YouTube channel. Well, I have a channel, but I don't publish. Yeah. So I hope this is understood. So async star lets you create a stream implicitly, and to which you can attach await for. So creating a stream is very easy. Is the topic of this. Yeah. So there's the stream controller class. Normally, to create a stream, this is one way to do it, but you have a bunch of separate functions, you maintain its state, etc. With a generator, you don't have to worry about that. You just create a function, it returns a stream, you just say yield, yield, yield. And if you throw something here, it is sent through the stream as an error. Streams can also send errors. So this is very beautiful if you're dealing with streams. Stream is a collection of features. Not really. It's like if it's a feature that gives one more. Maybe it could be a collection of features, but not really. No, I don't. It's difficult to make that analogy for me. It's like a buzzer that gives you one more hamburger whenever it wants. It's not another buzzer, another pager. It's one pager that keeps giving. It helps that physical analogy really helps understanding. Thank you. Yeah, all of you, please follow me on Twitter when I do that YouTube channel. I'll have some watchers. Anyway, so far we talked about the Dart language. Okay, we didn't say a word about Flutter so far. So this is all Dart language, and but of course we are writing Flutter code. So what does Flutter give, and what does it provide? And this Dart code does not know about Flutter, so that's one thing that we have to be careful about also. Flutter has Future Builder and Stream Builder widgets, which directly support this asynchronous world. But if you keep using them around, it's going to get a little crowded, your code, and maybe a little harder to maintain. So you may want to take care of the asynchronous stuff yourself. But in which case there are some pitfalls because this is Dart, it doesn't care about Flutter. For example, your widget name may not be mounted, so I'll talk about those things. And the block pattern, if you ever want to go to it, uses streams heavily, so you should understand all of this very nice before moving on to block. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. Okay, so Flutter, it's all widgets, right? We have some data, we have the build function. It creates a hierarchy of widgets, a tree of widgets. And we always create it. This is the reactive declarative programming paradigm. We don't maintain this tree. If you ever had to maintain a tree of objects, it's a very difficult thing to do. You traverse through it, etc. We have a tree. We don't maintain it. We only recreate it every time something happens with the build function. So this is the beauty that came from React and everything. You always recreate, and declaratively you say what needs to happen. This is a little inverse if you came from an imperative world, which you all have. So it takes some learning, but it's beautiful because we just recreate the tree. We don't worry about maintaining it. However, if you have the data, it's beautiful. If you don't have the data, what are you going to do? You said download. It's not here. What are you going to do? You have to show a loading, turning thing, right? So we have the Future Builder widget for that. We attach the Future Builder widget to our widget tree and give it a future that we got from somewhere else. And then it immediately calls a builder function that we give to it. It says, hey, I'm attached here. You're the builder function. There's no data yet. Give me something to put there. And then we say, okay, yeah, circular progress indicator loading. And then after a while, the future builder, just like the pager, buzzes, and it calls your builder function one more time. It says, okay, and now we have the actual data, create the actual UI, please. And then you create the actual UI, and this is how it works, more or less. This is very easy to use, but like I said, it can get a little boilerplatey. Stream builder is the same, but it gives one more time, and every time something comes in, you create your widget tree one more time for that place, right? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so this is the code. You have a regular build function in a column. You just, wherever you can put it like a text, you can put a future builder. And in the future builder, you have to give it a future that you got from somewhere else. Same with the stream builder, you give it a stream that you got from somewhere else earlier. And you have a builder function as a parameter. And the builder function that you provided gets called depending on the state of this future. If it has an error, you can create an error widget, retry, whatever. If it doesn't have a data, you create the loading indicator. If it has data, it comes to here, you create your UI, and everything is fine. But you can see it's a little bit boilerplatey. It creates a little more crowdedness in your code, but it works just fine. Okay, so the alternative is you managing yourself the asynchrony, right? You get the future, you await on it, etc. So here is a very simple, almost real pseudocode. I will manage my future here myself, and I'll try to do an example if we have enough time later. So I have a state, and this is a stateful widget. In my init state, I start an asynchronous job. I get it gives me a future, but I don't care about it. It's like starting a thread. You can call async functions from sync functions like this to start a job. You don't worry about what's going to happen when it's over, but it's like spawning a thread, and you don't care about what happens later. This cares. So after init state, build is called, state is null. So since state is null, we show the loading. And then after a while, this await obtain will complete. This will get me like an HTTP call. And I'll put the variable var, put the value in the variable var, r. And in the set state, I'll put it to state. And then build function will be called again with the state value not being null. So I'll create the state, right? So this works very much like the future builder, as you can see. But there's a gotcha here. If you ever want to do this, sometimes you'll get this exception, and you only get it sometimes, which makes it difficult to figure out. But the thing here is, my user info was here in the tree earlier, but until before this await was able to complete, it moved away from the tree. Maybe I switched to another page, right? So, but Dart doesn't care. This is a Dart function. It doesn't care about Flutter. This await will complete, and it will come to this set state. And it'll try to do set state with a widget that's not in the tree. So this will create the exception. And as a result, yeah, you'll get this exception. So how do you protect from it? There's a mounted Boolean in stateful widget that you can check. So this is what I do. Instead of set state, I create a set state if mounted function myself, and I just say if mounted set state f. And this protects if after await, if this goes away, this won't execute, this function. Or if you have other stuff that shouldn't also execute, perhaps if not mounted, return after every await is another way to do it. It's a little more, you have to remember to put this line. This is a little easier. Replace all set states with set state if mounted. It's up to you. If it's simple, just use it. If you have still errors, if not mounted, return after each await can be useful. Okay. So this is one thing that I wanted to show you. This is one pattern, and here is an actual usage of it. In its state, I start the counter, right? The counter is a async function, while mounted again, not while true, because if you go away, this will continue executing. You want to say while mounted, so it can get out. While mounted, and I keep doing set state if mounted, and if it's not mounted, it's not going to do set state. I'm not going to have that exception. Okay. So this is one pattern. Another pattern that I found useful is, I said that stream builder, future builder, it gets a little boilerplatey. So when you go to it, where's my actual UI? So if you look at this code, where's my actual UI code? You have, this is it. So instead, what I do is I take it out to a local function. Dart has nested functions, really build function I create, in which I put the actual UI, and the stream builder just calls that really build And this is all boilerplate as far as I'm concerned as the programmer. So I found that this is also a useful pattern. One more thing that I want to say, this build function that we have, its role is I have data, I want to convert it to UI. Okay, it's not supposed to it's not supposed to start a network request. Okay, it's not supposed to do anything that has a side effect. Okay, because it can be called many times, depending on various things, maybe an animation that you want to recreate all the time. If you start an HTTP call at every frame, your customer's data plan, your server billing will suffer. So this piece of code is from the actual Flutter channel. They had to show a small amount of code. You know, this is a little large. So they did this mistake there in the official video. And in the Stack Overflow answer, it's explained nicely. So what's the mistake here? Build function is called, future builder will be called. Its parameter, first parameter is HTTP call function's result. So every time build is called, HTTP call function is called. So every time build function is called, I start a new HTTP request to the server. Okay, this is bad because every time this can be happening all the time. Build function should be able to be called all the time. Instead, what do? You get your future in the init state, okay, or somewhere else, maybe in a button click or something that will happen once, okay, and then you get that future, you hold it in your class as a field, as a variable, you keep it as a cached like this, and then you give that to the future builder. So this build function executes again and again. You give the same future. You don't start an HTTP call again and again, okay. Okay, so this is another pitfall, and there are some resources here that I got used in some of my talks about this topic. And happy async programming, I want to say, and I want to quickly do some live coding also. We have not a lot of time, but I'll try. So this is the starting Flutter application without the all the the comments. So I will try to here I say raised button. Child text download, right? And hot reload is great. On pressed, and in the dev branch I get this, maybe also in the beta branch. So I want to start a download. So I had opened it over here in the Flutter docs, right? If you import HTTP, then you can do HTTP get. So let's import. Oops. And then let's do this HTTP get. Okay, and then if I assign it to something, and I also want to show some IDE features in IntelliJ, it gives me a future. So I can say this. Okay, I don't want a future. I want the actual thing. I'll await, right? And I'll say assign it to new variable. So now it's an HTTP response. That's great. But await is not happy because it needs to be async modifier. Async modifier needs to be there in this function, and this does it for me. So these event handlers, their return type is not important. Instead of returning null, void, they can return future void, so you can async any of them. That's fine. But these functions that you override, you cannot async them. Okay, so we get the wait, async, what's wrong? I probably need a hot restart. So when hot reload doesn't work, just hit hot restart. Yeah, it worked. Okay, let's print. How do we convert it to a map, right? It gives me JSON. So here's an example, json.decode, JSON, and I control space to import it, decode, response, body, and this gives me what? It's a dynamic, so I can only say var here. So let me see what it is, right? Let me also call it decoded. Okay, and I can also put a breakpoint here, and let's hit download. It comes here. Decoded is a, let me delete this from my earlier. Decoded is a map with a title in it. So I can, and I see it over here also. Decoded is what I will see next time. Yeah, so decoded title is this. So I can do copy name and then actually print that next time. Okay, so I will make use of that title. I'll try to put it right on top of the button. I hope, going over a little bit of time is fine. So I'll, instead of doing a raise button, let's create another widget, extract Flutter widget. Downloader. Okay, so it's really nice, this. And I don't need this constructor. So now I'm in my own widget. It's really nice. So, okay, and the widget is here. I want to have on top of this raised button, let me put it in a column so I can have a text. Text, and let's say hello for now. Right, so incrementally, you can bring your application come to life like this. So I'll put, okay, this decoded title. Let me put it to a variable. Title, let's call it. And then this, let me say, I know that it's a string. String title, even if it's not going to tell me. Let's say split variable declaration, and let's make this a field. And then, so let's put the title here instead. But it shouldn't be null. So it's by default null. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen. If I hit download, I don't see it because I didn't do set state here. If I do hot reload, I should see it. No, I didn't see it. But I was supposed to do set state here. Maybe oh, I cannot do set state. So this is a stateless widget, right? So let's convert to a stateful widget. Convert to stateful widget. And earlier it was warning me anyway for the not being final. Yeah, so now I'm in a stateful widget. Thanks to Pooja Bhaumik, I'm not maybe pronouncing her name wrong. She has a great Medium article about all this IDE usage. So let's do set state, and then put this title over here. And the next time, I need a hot restart. Yeah, the next time, I'm able to get the title in here. Great. So, but there is no download thing, right? I can do await, future, delayed, duration, seconds 2, for example. And, you know, I would wait for a while for it to complete, and I don't want that. So let me do it, is loading. And then if it's loading, right, is loading, then circular progress indicator, otherwise text title. And then here before that, I will say is loading, set state, right? I need to set state is loading is true. And I don't want it to be stuck ever, so I'll do try finally here, because what if there's an error here? I will always want to turn off is loading. Finally, if there was an IDE shortcut for that, that would be nice. Set state again is loading is equal to false. So now hopefully, yeah, I added 2 seconds there, right? It takes some time and it works. Okay, so what was I going to do? Yes, I was going to show you that issue. So let's create another page instead of this being the main page. Let me create a stateless widget here, first page, right? And this, let me create a scaffold body, and then center, child, raised button, child. If I created text as a beginning, I could have, this would have been easier. Next page, and on pressed, and then navigator. So I'm going to go to the next page, dash push, material page route, and I need a builder here. Let's do it like this. And yes, so yeah, I just give them my home page now. So creating a new page in Flutter is this easy. And here I'll give the first page instead. So fingers crossed, I have a mistake somewhere. Need a semicolon or colon? Yeah, semicolon. Okay, now I'm in the first page, and when I hit next page, I come to this page now. So you will see that magic of that exception. So I have set state, right? And I'm awaiting a little bit. So while it's awaiting, I'll press back and I'll get that exception. So awaiting back, and here we go, you get the exception. You read it, it says set state called after dispose somewhere around here. And then you realize, oh, I made that mistake again. And you say set state if mounted And then, oh, it's not there. Let's create that method. Let's call this like f, and let's say if mounted set state. Now we won't have that issue. Next page, download, go back. No more exception, no. I guess I needed to hot restart, I guess. Okay, next page, download, go back. Oh, I didn't change all of them, that's why, sorry. Live coding, so set state, if mounted. So all of them after the await needs to be like that. Save, next page, download, go back. No more exception, I hope. So can I go like 5 more minutes? Is it okay? I just want to convert this to a future builder also. Let's get the private chat for that. Okay, oh, there's questions from the audience. So yeah, one thing I will really quickly say is you could, convert this to a method and it would give you a future. And you could give this future to a future object here and then use a future builder here. That's like left for an exercise for the audience, I hope. But you can get the future. You wouldn't have any of this. On-pressed would just get the future, give it to a future object here. You wouldn't need any of this. The future builder object would take care of it. But that's straightforward. You can find that code anywhere. So yeah, okay. So I think let me see if I have anything else. I have a company, by the way. We're creating Flutter apps if you want. And if you're a beginner, touch typing is very important. Without looking at the keyboard, you should be able to type. Print this out on the wall, and then instead of looking at the keyboard, look at this. And IDE features, like I said, Pooja Bahumik, her article is great about that. And using the debugger, you should learn these before going forwards. Thank you so much, FlutterCon India. This is all I have. I think we do have some questions also. But yes, thanks. Should I stop sharing? Maybe I'll show in the slides if there's a good question. Yes. I used to do if mounted everywhere. Yeah. But if mounted is better actually. But this is the function that I use is a little more lazy. Mounted property. I don't know. There is probably the documents. X code of color in device. No. Any question you guys might have collected? I see Drumil Shah. Thanks, dude, for giving answers.
Okay. Hello, Ghassan. Thank you for the talk, first of all.
Thank
so
you.
there are some audience. The audience have asked some questions, and we have collected it. So could we ask questions? Okay, then I'll start with the first question. So first question is, async functions runs in the same thread of the main application, right?
Right,
so
yes.
Elaborate on it, because some audience have asked the same question, and they've asked, can you elaborate a bit?
Yeah, so async functions execute in the same thread. So what happens is, let me go to this over here. Actually, maybe let's go to the code. No, yeah, this is here. This is good. So when you call an async function, it executes like a normal function. It starts executing like a normal function until it sees the first await. When it sees the first await, it returns actually behind the curtains. So it lets this guy go, this processor here, if I can find the appropriate slide, right? So instead of locking him here, you give him at that point, at the first await, you will give the processor a future object, attach a function to it and move on. So maybe going to the code again may also help a little bit. Sorry, yeah. So, okay, this is good. So this is an async function, right? When it's called, it executes normally, just like this executes normally, right? When you call this main function, getVal is called just fine in the same thread, and then it returns a future. To that you attach then. This is not called now, main returns over. Exactly the same thing is going on in the same thread. So this main function is called, this getVal is called right now, before this returning, just like a normal function call to this main. And when it sees the first await here, then it returns, and this rest, this int val print val part is another function now, which will be called by the system at this time through this buzzer mechanism. When it comes to this function that continues unfinished tasks, in quotes, when it comes to here, then it goes and continues the rest of it through this future object. But all of this is in the same thread. The proof is in these slides. There is only one processor here that's going around. Okay, if there was another thread, it would be like this. I would have to do this. So there's only one processor. Just follow the processor. That's your thread.
Okay.
Okay, so I have just another question. Dart is a single thread language?
Yeah, the language itself, there is isolates to create a thread, but that doesn't share like the memory and things like that. So normally, if you create a thread in C++ and things like that, everything is shared. You're dealing with the same variables. I'm not very knowledgeable about isolates, to be honest, but as far as I know, when you create an isolate, you're not sharing the same variables anymore. So they try to separate it as much as possible. Yes, you can do background tasks with them, but it's not. They are not attacking each other like normal multi-threaded. But normally, when Flutter is running, when your Dart web application is running, etc., when your Dart command line program is running, if you don't create an isolate in those, it's a single-threaded situation. Yes. Okay. And it has to compile to JavaScript, right, in the web. So that's why it had to be like that. And it's a nice thing, I think. Multi-threaded code is difficult.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ghazian, to give a nice talk for the Dart asyncs and the future. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you much for coming over here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Aditya.
Yeah.
Okay. So
who is it? Oh. Yeah. Hello.
First of all, I would like to thank Ghazian for giving a nice talk on Flutter futures and async. So I would like to continue to my friend Aditya.
It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, can you tell me like who's our next speaker?
Okay. So before telling about the next speaker, I actually have something in mind to tell you about. So can you see on the screen? Actually, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to tell you about our Flutter website. This is a Flutter conference website that we have developed. So in this Flutter conference, we have what is Flutter conference, when is it happening, our goal, when we are actually communicating and bringing the Flutter movement. You will get to see all of our speakers in the website. As you can see, we have all the speakers. You can also see the organizers. The organizers of the Flutter. So as you can see, there are multiple communities who have worked in the Flutter. That is Flutter Surat, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, Gwalior, Nagpur, Mumbai. So whatever. So while we were developing this website, I actually had a biggest problem while working on the website. Can you please tell me what could be that problem?
Yeah, so basically when we was working on this website, so the biggest problem we faced is that the lag issue. When we build our app, so it gets like laggy situation while scrolling the website. So yeah, I think that's the main issue we are facing in the Flutter web right now.
That's true, but I actually faced one more issue while developing the website, and that was the responsiveness. So when our website is not actually run on the PC, it actually runs on a mobile as well, mobile, tablet, and on different screens. So the problem with me was how to configure it, how to make it responsive. So to solve that question, we actually have someone with our speaker as our next speaker. Can you please tell me who is our next speaker and who is going to answer that question?
Yeah, so our next speaker is Haseen Tai. He's like talking on progressive web apps in Flutter.
Yes, and
responsive web apps in Flutter. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true actually. So our next speaker, Hasnan Tai, is actually going to talk on responsive web apps. So I would like to welcome our next speaker. That is Mr. Hasnan Tai. So welcome. So as for an introduction, the next speaker, Hasnan Tai, is actually an associate software engineer at Toshiba Industry, and he's also a YouTuber. He develops multiple designs, screens, and shares us with the course and the courses on YouTube content. So I would like to welcome him. Welcome, Mr. Hasnan Tai. So your mic is not. I'm sorry. Welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Sen.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you can hear me now. Sorry for that glitch.
Yeah. So I just came to know that you're going to actually solve a website problem. That is the biggest problem that we face. That is responsiveness. So,
Yeah, sure. So you need to know how to configure that, and how to use exactly to make it responsive. Like the most important thing in responsive is, you need to show what exactly should be shown on mobile device and what exactly should be hidden on the mobile device. So when we talk about that, that at that particular of time, we always need to know that when we create a website, then we are going to have some links which will be on the navbar, right? So let's go ahead and start what exactly I wanted to show, and we're gonna build it live. Actually, I will show you the stuff how exactly we are going to do. So yeah, first thing first, my name is Asnan Dai, and I'm working as an associate software engineer, and that's my Twitter handler. You can go ahead and follow me. Apart from that, I am a founder of a YouTube channel called Trending Codes Hasnan Tai, where I make a Flutter videos, and yeah, I get more appreciation from my viewers, and I keep doing the videos over there. So let's not just pass more time on introducing myself, and let's talk. Can we make our web responsive in a Flutter? So I would say yes, we can make a web responsive. So there are a couple of ways to make your web responsive. The first way is using your own way of programming. Of course, we are going to use Dart. So Dart uses an object-oriented way. It's an object-oriented programming language. So of course, what we're going to do is we are going to use our own way to write from the scratch to make our web responsive. Or else, if you're a beginner and you don't know how to write those stuff, you're not good at the object-oriented language, then you can just go ahead and use the Velocity X package, which is made by the Pawan. You can use the Velocity X responsive widget over there, and it gives you a more flexible way to go ahead and work with. You don't need to know, or you don't need to write a code from scratch, right? So let's get to the responsiveness. So when it comes to responsiveness, very first thing is, it comes to our mind, can we write a media queries? So in CSS, yes, we can write media queries, but can we write media queries in the Flutter or using a Dart programming language? Then I would say a big yes, that you can write a media queries in the same way how you create a class for different media queries. You hit the different breakpoints, and then you go ahead and write different designs for that breakpoints, right? But over here, we are not going to write similar way, or we are not going to follow similar way as we do in CSS, but we have a different approach. So let's see what is that approach right over here. So of course, as I said, we are going to use a pure object-oriented programming way. So that is the only thing I can say. We can write a media queries in the Flutter. So let's see what exactly we are going to do. So let's take an example of real world, right? So in real world right now, we have three types of device. That is going to be a mobile, tablet, and a desktop, right? So now you need to manage your code in such a way that it should return a single thing at a time. Means in this example, we have three classes, that is mobile, tablet, and desktop. From these three at a time, it is going to return a single single class. Why is that? Because you cannot open a twice UI in a single tab. Either that tab is going to be inside your desktop view or a tablet view or device view. So you need to think how you can make that. And of course, we have something called interface, which returns a single thing at a time. So we will be creating a factory function or a factory class that will return a device. So let's just go ahead and take a look how exactly, or what we are going to do exactly. So yeah, I have a mobile device over here, which is going to send me the width of the device, right? Now that device going to hit this device factory. Now device factory is going to have a different types of breakpoints, right? So how we consider the breakpoints using the device width, right? So if we say that device width is 500 or less than 500, then of course it is going to be a mobile, or you can just see the device or the size over here. So I receive the size in this class, right? Now what happened? This class called the method called getDevice, and it checks whether the size is less than or equal to or 786 or 992. So it hit this kind of breakpoints right over here, and then it decide which class to return to our build function of the Flutter class, right? So according to the breakpoints, we are going to have a mobile, tablet, or a desktop, right? So why we need to implement interface is because I'm going to have an interface called device, right? As you can see, I have a pointer arrow over here. They are, it means they are implementing the interface, right? And that interface is going to have a method called getDevice. Now this might sound a bit confusing, but when we just code it, you're going to be clear with that part. So now, as you see, we have a different breakpoints that hits the mobile or tablet or desktop, right? And it has a getDevice method, which will return the particular or a single class that is going to be mobile, tablet, or desktop. So how we're going to code it is just we need to go ahead and start writing the code. So first thing first, what we're going to do is I have a boilerplate code over here, right? And what happened over here is, let's just go ahead and run this. And yeah, and one more thing, that there is no need of different configuration required if you're writing a mobile or a desktop or a web app. The thing is, you just need to change your command, or you just need to change the device from here. So you can see I can just change my device over here. If I want to run on my iPhone, I can just go ahead, or I can just hit the emulator or simulator. But right now we are working on web apps, so of course I'm going to run it on a Chrome, right? So now let's just go ahead and run this on a Chrome, and let's see what we have. So I have a boilerplate code over here. So I'm going to hit a command called flutter run debug on Chrome that will eventually create a new window of my Chrome, and then we can just start working on it. So before it's just go ahead and open up the window. Let's just see what we have. So yeah, so this is my blank screen. I don't have anything right now. So let's hit something over here, right? Inside this stack. So stack is a widget which put things on the top of each other. If you don't know what exactly stack is, then you need to go ahead and learn the basics of the Flutter. Of course, you can just go ahead and check out my channel. You can learn the basic of widgets over there of Flutter. So first thing first, what we're going to have is we are going to have a background image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use image, right? And then I'm going to say what kind of image I'm going to have. So I need to load an image from the network. So I will use the network image widget, and I will pass the URL. So let me just grab the URL from my notes right over here and hit it over here, right? And just let's go ahead and okay, so I missed the children over here. So stack accepts things as in children, a list of children. So let me just go ahead and pass it with stuff over here. Yeah, we are good to go. Just hit reload, and we'll see what we have. So right now we have this stuff, right? Now I need to align properly that it should have the full height and width. So what I'm going to do is I will just go ahead and write a code that is going to say height, and I'm going to get the height of the full screen from my media query. So what I'm going to do is media query.offcontext.size.height. So this will return me the height of the current device, right? And in the same way, I need to have a width, which is going to return me a media query.offcontext.size.width. Okay, so there is some problem going on with the, it just crashes sometime, the Flutter. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and close this because you can see it got crashed over here, and I don't know why. So yeah, I wanted to say that when you are building a web, you need to be on the beta channel of the Flutter branch, right? Because the web development or the web framework of the Flutter is on the beta right now. So yeah, let's wait. Let us just get look. Okay, so this is what we have, but still it is not full screen. Okay, let's just go ahead and make a full screen. So what we're gonna do is, sorry. Yeah, right over here. What we're gonna do is, over here, I'm gonna say you need to fit my screen. So I'm to say box fit dot cover, right? This will just go ahead and cover my image right over here, right? Now let's just go ahead and create a navigation bar. Okay, so what we're gonna have is, for that we need to create one container right underneath the image. Okay, so I'm gonna have a container, and that container is going to have a child. So let me just hit a comma over here, which makes the sense. Okay, now child is going to have a row. Now this row, first we are going to have as an icon, right? So this icon is going to have an icons dot, again, I just matched up with this. It is going to be a children. And first is going to be an icon, icons dot menu, right? After that, what I'm going to have is, right after that, I'm going to have a kind of brand name. So of course it is going to be a text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a text over here saying a Flutter India, right? After that, I'm going to have a couple of menu options, right? That says, so how about if we just go ahead and copy and paste instead of writing? So just paste it over here, right? And over here, I'm gonna use home, right? And let us just pass the style over here so that we get a white text. So the text style is going to be colors dot white. Right, let me just paste the same stuff over here so that we get a white text. Okay, so now we have home, we have projects, and we have about, right? Let us see what we get till now. So before we just go ahead and check our output, let me just give a color. So that color is going to be from my theme dot of context. Oh, sorry. Of context dot primary color. So right over here we have something like this, but this doesn't look great. We have Flutter India home project, which is been so jammed with each other. So let us just go ahead and work on that. I don't know how can I. So I am getting a crash every time. So yeah, eventually we will deal with it. Not a problem, because these things happen when you are live. So this doesn't make me more concerned, right? So now let us just grab this alt text into a kind of padding. So you can use this padding stuff over here, and you're gonna get some space between them. Right now, after your exact menu, right? Menu and brand name, we need to have all the home projects and about needs to be on the right hand side. So how you're gonna do that is just like this. So let us just have some space over here, and let me just save it and let me just have some space. Right, we got some space for Flutter India home project about. So now, what we're gonna do is we will just go ahead and use a spacer object, which is so smart to push everything on the right hand side. So I will just use a spacer and you will see the magic. So as a web developer, you know the pain of, you know, putting things and aligning things to the right hand side, left hand side. So you can see I just made enough space to the stuff. So now, how do we deal with creating a responsive, or how do we write a media queries? So let's just go ahead and write a media query over here. So you remember this part? So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to create an interface, right? So let's just go ahead and create an interface, name it class. We are going to call this interface as an same device, right? So let's call device as an interface, right? Now, in Dart, you don't need to specify as an interface, because the class is a declaration, or a class is an interface itself, until and unless you don't write the body method, method body, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a method called get device, right? So this device method is going to return me something, but if you write this much, this is the interface in the Dart. That's all. Now what you're going to do is you're going to have a tree class, right? First class is going to be a desktop, right? This is going to implement your device. And once it is implemented, you're going to have an error, and you're going to have a complaint saying that missing concurrent implementation of device.get. Means you need to implement whenever you're going to, if you're implementing an interface, then of course you need to override this method. So what we're going to do is we are going to surely override this method, and we have the overridden method right over here. So let's not create this. Okay, so now I'm going to just copy and paste the stuff again and again. I'm going to go ahead and make over here as a tablet, and I'm going to make another class. I'm going to say mobile. So this method, right? This method is going to return your, a media query class, right? So we will return this mobile and tablet and desktop on a particular breakpoint. So we are going to define the breakpoint into our class called device factory. Now this will give you the this will give you the exact device, which device you want to return depending on the media query. Now this will get the device width over here, right? And depending on the device width, we will. So I don't remember the all breakpoints. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy and paste the breakpoints from here, right over here. So before we get the device, what we're going to do is we are going to get exactly the device. Now, why we need to create this device which accepts the double size of my. So this device is nothing but the interface over here, which is going to return me this every time from this particular class. So what I will do, this will be checking my size right over here, just like that, right? So what happens, let's just get rid of this. What happens if I have a size, right? The size is belonging to this breakpoint, then it is going to be my mobile. If the size is belonging to this part, this particular breakpoints, then it is going to be my tablet. And if the size is going to be greater than this, then of course it is going to be my desktop. And if size is lesser than this, 576, then of course it is going to be my mobile, that is the extra small device. So now, what we need to do is let's just go ahead and integrate this device factory.dart, right? The device factory into our main.dart. How do we use it? So you need to remember one thing. This is the build method, which gets called every time when you resize your window of your browser, right? So what you need to do is first you need to get the device height or the device width. So currently we are working on the width, which will pass over here. So what we're going to do is we are going to create, or we are going to get the device width over here. And I'm going to say media query. So just like this. So yeah, guys, you can make this highly configurable. You can use the more power of object-oriented way, and then you can do it. So I'm just showing you the rough way to do this. You can make this more configurable, highly configurable, depending on your needs. So now we need to pass this device width to this method, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to create one object over here for our device factory. So I will say device factory, and then the device factory equals to new device factory, right? Now what happened? Even we need to store this device into one variable, because this particular method is going to return me device, right? Either maybe mobile, tablet or desktop. So what I will do, I will create one more variable called device, right? And I will store the current device. So what happens is right now, I need to call the device factory. So what I will do, device, and I will store that into a device. So device is going to call the device factory method. So I will say device factory dot get device, and then we are going to pass the size that is going to be our device width, right? So now, as you know that the build method is going to get called every time when you resize the window, then you need to rebuild this method as well, right? So this eventually gets rebuilds over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this dot set state, and I'm going to put this stuff so that I every time when my build method get updated, I'm going to get an updated value over here. So this device returns me, so this particular device returns whether it is going to be a mobile, tablet or desktop. So what I will do over here, exactly, I will use this method, and I will get the class of the breakpoints. So basically I'm getting a CSS class of the breakpoints. So before moving forward over here, what we will do is we will just go ahead and write some class over here. So the class is going to nothing, the class name and the value, what it is going to have, what is going to hold, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to make this get device more specific, saying that it should return me a map of a string and a dynamic, right? Now, I need to be specific everywhere because it should return me something. So now, it should return me something from here. So I will say return me the, first return me the, for example, let's just go ahead and of course work with the font size. So what we're going to do is I'll say the nav bar font, right? And I'm going to say it is going to be 18.0 for my desktop, right? Now I will do the same stuff for my tablet. And I'll say, for my tablet, I need 16, right? And for my, sorry, I need a return function over here. And for my mobile, I need, how about, let's go for 12. So, so this going, we are going to use this on a brand name. So let's make it more, let's go ahead and hit 14, yeah. So that's all for now. Let's grab this exact nav bar into our device. So right now I have this device which is been, so let's get the current map from desktop, tablet, or a mobile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one more variable called, let's say, current device, which will be holding my device that is going to be a mobile or a desktop. So actually that is going to hold my classes. So I will say the current device map. That is a better way to declare. So what I'll do is current device map equals to device dot get device, right? So every time what happens, I have an updated value of mobile, desktop, or tablet. It catches the current device map, and I can get the current device map right over here. So now what we can do is we can just go ahead and use that exact map right over here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use the font size, right? So font size is going to be current device map, and just like that. So let me use this font size for, okay, let us just see what we have for now. Let me just rebuild. Yeah, so can you see, let us just create some padding for this container so that we have some spacing. So 8 inches out, and let's do 20. Yeah, so here we go. Now, just take a look on the brand name, what happened if I resize the window, right? See, can you see it get decreased and increased? Let us just play with the number so that you can get the more idea. So let's make it 20 or a bigger number so that you can get the huge fallback of the number. Just restart and let us see. So you can see I have a huge number. So you can see that. And here we go, right? So this is how you can write your media queries just like that, right? Now, the another stuff is when you are working on the device. So in the real world, when you just see, when your menu is already visible, we don't need this icon to be visible on the screen. So this is vice versa, right? When your menus are visible, there should be no drawer option visible. And when your menus are not visible, your drawer icon, the drawer opening icon should be visible, right? So that is straightforward. So what we're going to do is, of course, we are going to write a media query for that. So for that, let's just go ahead and create a media query. Or I just don't want to type because I hope you guys got the concept. So what I will do is I will just go ahead and copy and paste everywhere. So guys, one more thing, if you are not clear why I'm using string and map, so it's because you can see right now I'm returning I'm a double value over here, and then I'm returning a Boolean value. So it is great to use a dynamic where you are not sure that what value you're going to return every time. So on tablet, it should be false. Even on desktop, it should not be visible, but the icon should be visible on the desktop, right? So what we're gonna do is let us just change the key so that display icon, so that we will not get confused. So I will just change that for sure. So now what we're gonna do is yeah, so right over here I'm going to make it as a true, right? So now I have this display icon to be displayed on mobile is true. So what we will do, we'll go to this function and we will use the if conditions. So many of the Flutter developers always face a problem to use an if conditions into a build method. And most of them even doesn't know that there is a way of using the if conditions into build method. So yes, when you're writing a widget inside a list, you can just go ahead and use the if condition, and we will see how we can do that. So I'm gonna grab this all content of my nav bar from here, right? and I'm going to remove this. So you can see that this is the list of widgets right now. So we will use a list of unmodifiable list dot unmodifiable, and I will say that is going to be asynchronous. So let me just go through that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste my all of the widgets right over here. So you will get an error because this is asynchronous, and we need to get rid with this comma to hit the semicolons right over here. So let me just hit the semicolons everywhere so that we can easily get rid of the error. Right. So here we are out of the error, and this returns a stream. The sync always returns a stream. So if you just go ahead and check something now, you're not going to see anything on the screen because I didn't use the yell. So before, when you use an unmodifiable sync, you always need to use yell. So I will just go ahead and use the yell everywhere. I'll just copy and paste. I'm sorry for the background noise. I hope you can understand. We are in India and we stay so close to each other. So yeah, and sorry guys, I'm not reading any questions or any replies. But at the end of this stream, we will surely take a look. So let me just rebuild and let us see what we have. We got the thing. Now, we will just go ahead and use the if over here, right? So this should not be visible, of course, when we are on the mobile. So what we will do, we will use the current device map, right? And when it is true, at the time only, this should be visible. The icon should be visible, or else, of course, it should not be visible. So let us see what we have. Right, so this is not visible. Let me just go ahead, and here we go. When I hit the media query of that particular stuff, I hit that mobile version, and I can see the nav icon. But at the other hand side, I want to put all these menu projects and about into the drawer, right? Which get opens on the click of this function, right? So what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to use the if condition over here as well. So I can use the else, but I have a brand over here in between, and it should be on the same space, so I cannot use the else. So for that, I'm going to use an if, and I'm going to use the negation operator of over here, right? So that, I'm sorry, it should be in the front, right over here, and let us put this all stuff inside that, right? Let us see what we got. Okay, so here we go. Now, right now we don't have any drawer, so we cannot see anything right now. So if you want, we can just go ahead and create a drawer. So we have a drawer actually. I just made it ready before just coming on the live stream. So I have a drawer, but nothing happens because I don't have a click function on the icon. So instead of icon, let's use an icon button, right? So let's just go ahead and use icon button. So why we're using icon button is because we get an on tap functionality. So there are a couple of ways to do. You can use the gesture detector directly on icon to get an the on click, or else you can just use the material and then inkwell, and then you can use on tap of that as well. So let's just go ahead and use on pressed over here. I will use the key of my scaffold to open my drawer. So here we go. Scaffold dot current state dot open drawer, right? So if I put stuff into my drawer, just like this, let's say a child is going to be a column, and this column is going to accept things as in children, and I'm going to use this all children into that. Of course, I'm going to get an error because I need comma. Not that. Right? So let us see what we have. One more error. Let's just get rid of that and let's just format the code. Right? Let me save. Let me rebuild. And so right now, no drawer, right? Let's just go ahead. We get the drawer. We open the drawer, and we are not getting that text is because we are on the white background. So let me just remove this color, and we get the white. I'm extremely sorry for the background noise, and I cannot do anything for that. I'm sorry for that. So let me rebuild, and let us see. Cool. We have our home projects and about right over here. So yeah, you can highly configure this. You can create the different methods over here, different variables over here. You can grab them into your main.dart, and yeah, we are ready to go. So let us just see what is the next way to do that, or what is the another way to do that. So the another way we can say it is the Velocity X package. So let me just get rid of this stuff first. Okay, so this is the Velocity X, and I'm gonna go ahead and close this stuff, the one which we are doing. Close, right? Now let me run this part. So guys, if you want to use a Velocity X, that is a package. So of course you need to inject that first into your pubspec.yaml, just like that, right? And this package is heavily using an extension method. So if you want to get rid of the Flutter way, you can use a Velocity X to do some cool stuff. Right, so this will make, or this will save your time to build an app, because it uses the extension, and it makes the code structure more proper. So you can see that right now what is going to get rendered on my screen is just like that. So I am large. So I have a Velocity responsive widget right over here, and this widget allows me to handle the different size of devices, right? So what happened? So I use the Velocity X responsive widget, and then I use medium, and I create a text which is going to get rendered. That when it hits the medium breakpoint, it is going to render the medium. So for all the breakpoints, right? For all the breakpoints, I have a different widgets which will be getting called at that breakpoint. So let us see. So over here, I guess you're able to see. I hope so. Yeah. So right over here, I am large, I am medium, I am small, and I'm extra small. Right. So this is one of the way. If you're totally beginner and you want to create a well-responsive website, then of course you should go ahead and use this widget, because it is highly configurable, and you can make more stuff and more creative from this. So now this is the one way over here, but there are a couple of ways to there are a couple of ways to work on. That was the another way which I showed exactly, and this is the one way to make a Velocity X package, and you can create the responsive widgets, use a responsive widget, and you can create the responsive websites. But apart from that, you have many more widgets from the responsive, that you can see that if I want to center a text, then I will just use .center, and it will directly center my text. So it has many stuff to do with. You can just go ahead and learn more stuff over there. And I guess that's all from my side. And if you want to learn more about Flutter, you can just go ahead and follow me on Void on Twitter, or you can just grab ahead and check out my Training Codes YouTube channel to learn basics of Flutter. And yeah, you can start working with the Flutter. And yeah, that's all from my side. I hope you got the point how to create a responsive web apps in a Flutter, writing media queries into the Flutter. So yeah. If we have any questions, then we can go through that questions. Are you guys?
Thank you very much, Hassan, for the talk.
Yeah. Cool.
Responsive. So I actually learned a lot as I used it in the website. It was the most difficult part for me. So thank you very much. So there is actually some questions from our audience. Would you like to answer?
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first question is there a preview? Is there a way to preview the screen like XML layouts for Androids? That's the question.
So there is no XML. There is no other stuff. There is only one file called Dart. Using that Dart file, you can just highly configure your mobile apps. There is no other files to write your code and then you inject that code into the Flutter. So you need to use the Dart version, and you can just highly configure your, you use classes and then highly configure your, the UI.
Okay. So I have a question from my side actually. So
yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when we were developing the website, the thing was that when we implemented the responsiveness, so when we did the inspect element and tried on different screens, we actually had to refresh it each and every time to see the effect. Like it wasn't detected the responsiveness. Can you please tell something?
So I can badly hear you. Your voice is breaking up. I'm sorry for that, but can you just repeat that?
Okay. So while the Flutter conference team was making the website, so we were testing it on multiple platforms like some mobile devices and everything. So in the Chrome, we actually do the inspect element and check it, right? So when we were doing that, the device actually didn't detect the sizes. We actually had to refresh it every time so that it could detect the sizes. It wasn't automatically detecting it, like whether it has gone down or expanded. So can you please suggest something more elaborate on the topic?
So let me just go ahead and open that project actually, so that you can get a clear idea how I did that. Okay. So I don't know what approach you used, but yeah. So you need to know one thing, that when you resize your app, right? When you resize the window, your build method get called every time, right? So if you want to know that, then you can just use the context, right? This context will give you all the size of the screen, width, gutters, everything, right? So you can use the set state method, and then you can get the updated value when it rebuilds the window, or when it rebuilds the build method.
Okay.
So this is the only stuff which I did. I just got the current device from my device factory using the passing the width of the screen, and I just got the mobile tablet in this particular part, right? And then yeah, I have a current map. So according to my current map, I'll be using that map right over here. So I get every time when it rebuilds, I get the updated value.
Okay. Again, thank you very much. So, Nitya, do you have any questions?
No, from my side, no. And also, we don't I can't see any questions right now. Okay. So we should wrap this now. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Hassan, for coming us.
Thanks a lot for having me.
It was actually on platform.
Yeah. So yeah, one more request to the viewers: if you are totally new to the Flutter, you can just go ahead and check out my channel, and you can just start learning the basic widgets of the Flutter, and then you can create a great UI. Even I have a couple of series for creating the UI, music players, and all those stuff. So that's a request from my side. And yeah, thanks for having me one more time. Thanks for organizing such events to the entire team of Flutter India.
Hey Hassan, I have a question for you. When we are building this Flutter web application, so can you suggest something by using that we can achieve a good performance of website?
So I would say that the performance-wise, you need to wait for to come from beta to the stable. That's what I can say right now. Because right now it's in beta, and right now the problem is you can just take your code which has been written into your mobile framework and you just paste it over here, but it works perfectly fine into your mobile, but it will lag a little bit, and the huge reason is that it's in beta, and that is the only performance issue right now when we scroll and those stuff. So right now there is a performance issue with that. I hope and I guess that Flutter team is working on that. So even if I, even if I go ahead and do some stuff over here, of course it will lag.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
I think we found a solution for this. So, can you come in? Okay. So the thing, yeah. So I actually have an information for that. So while we were working on this application, we found out there is a specific command in the Flutter, that is the use Kia. Use Kia equals to, that is define device equals to use Kia. So when we do that, it actually improved the bit lagginess. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It reduced the lagginess.
So, the thing is, yeah, I would say that the thing is when you deploy this app, or when you make a release build, you use that Kia equals to true, that will increase your performance actually. That's true. I just missed that point.
Yeah. Yeah, actually we came to
yeah, of course. The thing is, the Flutter always works better when it is in release mode than compared to a debug mode. It always works great.
Do you have any comments for Flutter Desktop?
So to be frank, I have not tried because I'm much busy with doing some other stuff. So I have not tried the Flutter Desktop right now. But yeah, I was building my portfolio and I come up with this configuration, so that I need to have something like this to make my portfolio, more responsive.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. So last question, Hasnan, do you have any pro tips for people who are doing Flutter Web? Like I know some companies, they're building their tech, actual business on Flutter Web applications. So do you have any pro tip for them?
I would say the pro tip is, you should follow the Flutter documentation to make yourself as a pro. That is the only pro tip I can give, because their documentations are so clear that you can understand the things from there itself. And yeah, the other communities working over there will give you all the information about working with APIs and all of that stuff.
Okay. Any comments from Ghazian?
I'd like to thank you so much for organizing the event. Hasnan, thank you so much for your talk too. I want to improve myself in the website. You played with it a little bit, but definitely I want to use it more and more now that PWAs and everything are there. Thank you. And I also want to second the suggestion for reading the documentation. It's kind of old, but even when Flutter was alpha, people were saying, oh, there's not enough resources, but the docs are really clear. There are full-time people working there. Kathy Walrath, I believe, and the other lady, I forgot her name at the moment, which is a shame. But yeah, there are professional authors there working, so really nice, the documentation.
Yeah, so thanks one more time for sharing your asynchronous way of programming. It was pretty clear, behind the curtains, actually. That was the best part. I got to know how exactly it works in the memory part, actually.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'd like to thank everybody for organizing also. And I'm overwhelmed by the Twitter feedback. I really like it. I think I'll start a YouTube channel now.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, we are actually on a platform. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming to our platform.
Yeah, thank you much, everyone. Yes. Can you have our ending notes for today?
Okay. So thank you very much to all of our speakers, all of our audiences to join us today, especially Ghazian, Hasnan, and our mother of dashes, Ms. Nilay Yenar. So thank you very much, guys. So now I would like to give it to I would like to transfer the stream to Ms. Poonam Jha. She will be wrapping up the whole event. Okay. So I would like to welcome Poonam Jha to wrap up the event. Okay. So due to some circumstances,
Yeah,
so
she's not here. But to wrap up, so tomorrow we have three important and very relevant topics. So first is efficient internalization of Flutter apps. Second is state management in Flutter. And the last and very important from Will Narche, who is working in Google. That is, his topic is what's new in Flutter design engineering. And I guess everyone is waiting for the same topic from a long time.
So actually, if I see that all these topics are actually too interesting because internationalization, state management, and the other, it is quite difficult for a Flutter beginners to work on that, on that platform. On that page. It will be interesting. So guys, thank you very much, and I would like to, thanking the audience and the people. And we will surely see you tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much. We'll finish this up.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. So before